In part 1, we saw how Thomas and Clara Vance were found dead inside their own home. No signs of forced entry, shot in the chest with the family's 3-generation revolver, and then an anonymous letter appeared promising truth. This is part 2 of that story. When the first letter arrived, police treated it like cheap extortion. In a small town, there's always someone trying to cash in on tragedy. But Bozeman wasn't dealing with grief alone. It was dealing with panic, and panic grows into urgency. Urgency becomes haste, and haste, more often than not, becomes a mistake. Pressure started swallowing everything, the local media pushing harder, neighbors demanding answers, community meetings filled with fear and anger, and Detective Alan Harper, even trying to keep his head, knew he was holding a case with a massive problem. It didn't look like a robbery, it didn't look like a break-in, it didn't look random. Because if the murder weapon was the family revolver, then someone had access, and if someone had access, there was familiarity. That revolver wasn't something left lying around. It was a symbol, a legacy, a private family secret. That shrinks the circle, and at the same time makes everything more terrifying. And here's the part no one likes to admit. When a town wants peace, it will accept almost any explanation that seems to fix things. That's how attention turned to the Miller brothers. Jake and Kevin Miller already had reputations: petty theft, fights, drug involvement, the kind of history that makes people point before they even listen. They were the kind of names that once mentioned make everyone say, "I knew it. It had to be them." Police searched, questioned, squeezed, and items turned up that were said to belong to the Vance family. It wasn't definitive proof of murder, but it was enough to build a story. And when an investigation is under pressure, a story becomes a track. Once the narrative clicks into place, everything that doesn't fit starts getting ignored. But the most important detail kept screaming through the silence. There was no forced entry, so how did they get in? Still, the arrests came, then the hard interrogation, hours, days, the kind of relentless pressure that can break anyone, especially people who've spent their whole lives being treated like suspects. And then came the confession. Once a confession appeared, Bozeman exhaled as if someone had opened a window in a suffocating room. The sheriff spoke at a press conference, and the town chose to believe. Because what else was there? The idea that the killer was still free was unbearable. But pay attention to what happened next, because this is where the story shifts. Even after being convicted, Jake and Kevin kept repeating the same line, like a scratched record. "We confessed to make it stop. We didn't do it." At first, nobody cared. Every guilty man says that. But as much as you want to agree, there's a question that won't go away. If they were lying, why cling to it like that to the end without crafting a cleaner story? And more importantly, why would someone keep sending letters if the culprits were already behind bars? A month after the arrest, Eleanor received another letter. And it wasn't asking for money. It wasn't chasing fame. It read like it was smiling in the dark. "They're locked up, but the truth is still here." Imagine what that does to a person. Imagine trying to breathe again, trying to get out of bed, trying to force grief to fit inside your body, and then a piece of paper arrives saying plainly that your pain is still someone else's game. Police tried to downplay it, said it was a copycat, a disturbed person playing with the family's suffering. But the letters kept coming. One each month, like a schedule, like discipline. like someone circling a date on a calendar and thinking it's time to hurt them again. And then came the detail that truly terrified Eleanor. The letters mentioned things that never made the newspapers. Small, intimate facts, information that officially should have existed only with whoever was inside the house or whoever had read the full report. That kind of detail isn't curiosity, it's a threat. It's someone saying, I was there, I know, I can come back. And what makes it even more suffocating is the setting. Bozeman wasn't a big city where you disappear into a crowd. It was a town where you see the same faces at the grocery store, the gas station, the school, the church. So the question eating at Eleanor's mind wasn't only who did it, it was who's standing near me pretending they're sorry. Because if the letters were real, the author could be someone who smiled at the family on the sidewalk, someone who brought a pie to a gathering, someone who'd been inside that house before, someone who knew where a 3-generation family revolver was kept. And here's a hook most people overlook, but it matters. That revolver, the symbol passed down for 3 generations, became more than the weapon. It became a message, a desecration, as if whoever did this wanted to mock the idea of protection the family believed in. And just when you think it can't get worse, you run into the police response, refusal to reopen. Because reopening would mean admitting the Miller brothers may have been the easiest answer, and admitting that would mean facing the possibility that the real killer stayed free, watching everything from the shadows. Little by little, Bozeman became a different town. Doors locked, curtains drawn early, fewer smiles, and a kind of paranoia that doesn't look like movies, it looks like behavior. The stare that lingers a second too long, the conversation that ends before the topic turns sensitive, the feeling that the silence is suddenly crowded. And Eleanor began living with a second shadow, because grief is heavy enough, but grief with the certainty that someone is watching you, that becomes a prison. Officially, the case stayed closed. The Miller brothers remained behind bars, and the town kept trying to forget. But for a long time, the letters kept reminding everyone there was a truth that didn't match the relief. And this is where the Vance story turns into a question that can haunt any small town, any community, any place where people need to believe everything is under control. How many cases get solved just because everyone is too exhausted to keep searching? If you made it this far, comment a line so I know you're following with me. The revolver didn't lie. And if you want more stories like this, where the smallest detail is exactly what shatters the official version, subscribe to the channel now, because this chapter ends here, but the next mysteries we're bringing might be even more disturbing, and you won't want to miss them.